Think you know what happened to the cast of the wildest Western ever made? Think again. The story of Blazing Saddles didn't end when the credits rolled. For some, the real drama was just beginning. Behind the iconic gags lies a story of lost triumph and secrets that stayed buried for years. Stay tuned as we reveal the shocking then and now transformations of your favorite outlaws and townspeople. You won't look at them the same way. Mel Brooks as Governor William J. Le Petomane / Indian Chief. Born on June 28, 1926 in Brooklyn, New York, the comedy legend directed, co-wrote, and acted in the seminal satire Blazing Saddles. At the age of 47, Brooks took on the dual roles of the cross-eyed incompetent Governor William J. Le Petomane and a Yiddish-speaking Indian chief, cementing the film as a masterpiece of spoof cinema. His performance provided the anarchic energy necessary to anchor the movie's deconstruction of Hollywood Western myths. The film shattered box office records and social taboos alike, using absurdity to expose the ridiculousness of racism, and remains one of the most culturally significant comedies ever made. While his character of Governor Le Petomane was portrayed as a dim-witted, corrupt bureaucrat obsessed with his paddleball, the real Mel Brooks was a brilliant, hyper-articulate intellectual known for his sharp wit and encyclopedic knowledge of film history. The production of Blazing Saddles was fraught with behind-the-scenes conflict. Warner Brothers executives were horrified by the final cut, particularly the use of racial slurs, the bean-eating scene, and the horse-punching. They demanded the film be buried or drastically re-edited, viewing it as a career-ending disaster. Brooks famously nodded at every note given by the studio heads, threw them in the trash, and released the film exactly as he intended, turning a potential professional catastrophe into a triumph of artistic integrity. Mel Brooks continued to dominate the comedy landscape for decades, producing hits like Young Frankenstein, Spaceballs, and the musical adaptation of The Producers. As of 2026, at the age of 100, he is a celebrated centenarian and one of the last surviving legends of the golden age of Hollywood. He remained active well into his late 90s, producing History of the World Part 2 for Hulu in 2023, and publishing his memoir, All About Me. Though he lost his beloved wife, Anne Bancroft, in 2005 he has remained a vibrant public figure, frequently appearing in interviews to share stories from his storied career. He resides in Los Angeles, revered as the undisputed king of parody. Gene Wilder as Jim the Waco Kid. Born on June 11, 1933, the Milwaukee, Wisconsin native stepped into the role of the recovering alcoholic gunslinger only days before filming began replacing the original actor who had fallen ill. At the age of 40, Wilder's performance as Jim became legendary for its perfect blend of melancholy and deadpan humor, creating an unmatched chemistry with co-star Cleavon Little. His steady-handed display of the fastest hands in the West and his ability to ground the absurdity of the film helped cement Blazing Saddles as a satirical masterpiece and a cornerstone of American comedy history. While the Waco Kid was a cynical, washed-up killer with a dark past, Gene Wilder was known in reality for his gentle, soft-spoken demeanor and deep emotional sensitivity. This contrast was often visible in his acting style, but his real-life nature made the harsh realities of show business difficult to navigate. Following the passing of his wife Gilda Radner, he became increasingly selective and disillusioned with the industry. He faced professional struggles in the 1990s, including the failure of his sitcom Something Wilder, which was canceled after just one season due to poor ratings and creative differences. He eventually retreated from acting, expressing frustration that he could not find work that avoided the excessive profanity and violence prevalent in modern scripts. Gene Wilder spent his later years focusing on writing novels and memoirs, living a quiet life in Connecticut with his wife Karen Boyer. He made a rare return to the screen for a guest role on Will and Grace in 2002, which earned him a Primetime Emmy, but otherwise remained out of the public eye. In a final act of kindness, he chose to keep his declining health a secret to avoid burdening his fans with sadness. Gene Wilder passed away at his home in Stamford, Connecticut, on August 29, 2016, at the age of 83, from complications of Alzheimer's disease. His death was followed by a global wave of tributes revealing that he had hidden his diagnosis for 3 years simply because he could not bear the thought of one less smile in the world. Cleavon Little as Sheriff Bart. Born on June 1, 1939 in Chickasha, Oklahoma, the classically trained actor made cinema history in Mel Brooks' satirical masterpiece, Blazing Saddles. At the age of 34, Little's portrayal of Sheriff Bart, a suave, quick-witted outsider who outsmarts an entire town of bigots, became an instant legend. His performance served as the cool, sophisticated anchor amidst the film's chaotic slapstick, delivering a biting yet hilarious commentary on race relations that helped make the movie a colossal box office hit and a definitive comedy of the 20th century. While Sheriff Bart was effortlessly cool and seemingly impervious to the absurdity around him, Cleavon Little was a disciplined, Broadway-honed professional who had already won a Tony Award for Pearly before Hollywood came calling. However, the massive success of Blazing Saddles proved to be a double-edged sword. The industry struggled to find appropriate vehicles for his specific brand of sophisticated charm. He faced the distinct professional hardship of being a talented black leading man in an era that offered few non-stereotypical roles, often resigning him to supporting parts in films or short-lived television sitcoms rather than the sustained movie stardom his talent warranted. Cleavon Little continued to work steadily in theater and television, notably starring in the sitcom True Colors, and winning a Primetime Emmy Award for his guest appearance on the show Dear John. Despite his ongoing work, he privately battled health issues that were kept largely out of the public eye. He passed away at his home in Sherman Oaks, California, on October 22, 1992, at the age of 53, due to colorectal cancer. His body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered into the New York harbor, leaving behind a legacy of breaking barriers in comedy that is still celebrated today. Madeline Kahn as Lili von Shtupp. Born on September 29, 1942, the Boston native brought her classical operatic training and unique comedic sensibility to Blazing Saddles as the cabaret singer Lili von Shtupp. At the age of 31, Kahn's portrayal of the Teutonic Titwillow, a parody of Marlene Dietrich, became a cinematic sensation, earning her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, a rare feat for a broad comedy performance. Her iconic rendition of the song I'm Tired and her impeccable timing established her as a comedic legend and a central figure in Mel Brooks' repertory of actors. Despite her ability to play bawdy, loud, and eccentric characters, Madeline Kahn was known in her private life as an intensely shy, soft-spoken, and sensitive introvert. This disconnect between her public persona and private self was often a source of internal conflict, as she struggled with the industry's expectation for her to be funny at all times. She also faced the professional hardship of typecasting, frequently pigeonholed as the neurotic sidekick rather than the leading lady she aspired to be. Her ventures into television were met with frustration. Her sitcom Oh, Madeline was short-lived, and she often found herself in shows that were canceled prematurely, failing to find a long-term television vehicle that matched her talents. Madeline Kahn continued to find acclaim on Broadway, winning a Tony Award for The Sisters Rosenzweig in 1993 and took on a steady role in the sitcom Cosby in the late 90s. However, her life was cut tragically short by a rapidly progressing illness. Diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 1998, she kept the severity of her condition largely private to avoid the media spotlight. In a poignant final chapter, she married her longtime partner John Hansberry in October 1999. Madeline Kahn passed away in New York City on December 3, 1999, at the age of 57 due to complications from the disease. Her untimely death shocked the entertainment community, leaving a void in the world of comedy that many critics and fans believe has never been filled. Harvey Korman as Hedley Lamarr. Born on February 15, 1927 in Chicago, Illinois, the gifted comedic actor had already established himself as a sketch comedy legend before taking on his most famous cinematic role. At the age of 46, Korman's portrayal of the corrupt and scheming state attorney general in Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles became a masterclass in comedic villainy. His performance, defined by the character's bureaucratic incompetence and the running gag regarding the confusion of his name with actress Hedley Lamarr, was essential to the film's enduring success as one of the greatest satires in movie history. While Hedley Lamarr was arrogant, power-hungry, and supremely confident in his evil plans, Harvey Korman was known in real life to be a man plagued by profound insecurity and self-doubt. Despite his outward success and brilliance as a second banana, he struggled internally with the feeling that he was not a true leading man. This professional anxiety manifested when he left the safety of the Carol Burnett Show to headline his own sitcom, The Harvey Korman Show, in 1978. The move proved to be a significant professional hardship. The show was a critical and commercial failure, canceled after only a handful of episodes, leaving Korman to navigate the difficult reality of failed pilots and the struggle to find his footing outside of an ensemble cast. Harvey Korman continued to work steadily in the industry, finding a successful niche in voice acting, most notably as the Great Gazoo in The Flintstones, and touring the country in a highly popular comedy duo act with his longtime friend Tim Conway. He remained active until his health began to decline in his final year. Korman passed away at the UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles on May 29, 2008, at the age of 81, following complications from a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm. He was laid to rest at Woodlawn Memorial Cemetery in Santa Monica, where his grave marker bears the inscription, "A Aristocrat," a humorous nod to a famous sketch he performed with Tim Conway, cementing his legacy as a comedic giant. Slim Pickens as Taggart. Born on June 29, 1919, the Kingsburg, California native began his entertainment career as a professional rodeo clown before transitioning to Hollywood. At the age of 54, Pickens took on the role of Taggart, the dim-witted and belligerent henchman in Mel Brooks's satirical masterpiece, Blazing Saddles. His portrayal became an instant classic, utilizing his distinctive wheezy voice and authentic Western drawl to deliver some of the film's most memorable lines, including the famous improvisation regarding a toll booth. The role cemented his status as a Western icon while proving his immense capability for self-aware comedy in a film that challenged social norms through absurdity. While Taggart was a caricature of a hateful movie villain, Slim Pickens born Louis Burton. Lindley Jr. was a genuine cowboy and rodeo pro known for his gentlemanly demeanor and kindness off-screen. The contrast was stark. He had to channel his authentic cowboy background into a buffoonish antagonist, a role that required him to mock the very genre that built his career. Professionally, Pickens faced the immense weight of typecasting. Because of his unique voice and rugged appearance, he was almost exclusively pigeonholed into westerns or country bumpkin roles, making it difficult for him to demonstrate his range in other genres. Additionally, he acted through significant physical pain in his later years, the result of a lifetime of injuries sustained during his dangerous rodeo days. Slim Pickens continued to remain active in the industry, lending his talents to films like The Howling, and acting as a regular on the television show Hee Haw. However, his life was cut short by severe health issues. He passed away at a sanitarium in Modesto, California on December 8, 1983, at the age of 64, following surgery for a brain tumor. His death marked the loss of one of the screen's most authentic Western voices. He was posthumously inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame, honoring a legacy that successfully bridged the gap between the rough dust of the arena and the bright lights of Hollywood. Alex Karras as Mongo. Born on July 15, 1935 in Gary, Indiana, the former NFL defensive tackle transitioned from the gridiron to the screen to become a comedic legend. At the age of 38, Karras's portrayal of Mongo, the slow-witted but immensely strong henchman, became an instant classic, delivering one of cinema's most iconic moments when he famously punched a horse. Despite his limited dialogue, his delivery of the philosophical line, "Mongo only pawn in game of life," cemented his place in cultural history, proving he could hold his own against comedy giants in Mel Brooks's satirical masterpiece. While Mongo was depicted as a monolithic brute with a childlike mind, Alex Karras was, in reality, an articulate, sharp-witted man and a published author, a stark contrast to the dim character that made him a movie star. This transition from professional sports to acting was fraught with professional hurdles. His football career had been marred by a highly publicized suspension for gambling in 1963, a stigma that threatened his public image. Furthermore, as he navigated Hollywood, he fought a constant battle against being typecast solely as a thug or muscle, working hard to prove he possessed the range for softer, more domestic roles. Alex Karras successfully broke the heavy-hitter mold by starring as the gentle adoptive father, George Papadopoulos, in the hit sitcom Webster during the 1980s. However, his later years were plagued by deteriorating health, specifically dementia and heart disease, which were eventually linked to the chronic head trauma he sustained during his football career. He became a lead plaintiff in the landmark concussion lawsuit against the NFL. Karras passed away at his home in Los Angeles on October 10, 2012, at the age of 77 from kidney failure. In a final significant aftermath to his career, he was posthumously inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2020, an honor that many fans and critics felt had been unjustly delayed for decades. Dom DeLuise as Buddy Bizarre. Born on August 1, 1933, the Brooklyn native brought an unforgettable, chaotic energy to Mel Brooks's satirical western Blazing Saddles. At the age of 40, DeLuise's portrayal of Buddy Bizarre, the flamboyant and high-strung director attempting to orchestrate a musical number amidst a studio brawl, became a comedic highlight of the film's fourth wall-breaking climax. His frantic performance during the French Mistake number solidified his status as a master of improvisation and physical comedy, contributing to one of the most surreal and celebrated endings in cinematic history. While Buddy Bizarre was a caricature of a snapping, superficial auteur, Dom DeLuise was widely renowned as one of the warmest and most nurturing souls in Hollywood. This contrast was central to his identity. He was a dedicated family man and an avid chef who loved to feed cast and crew far removed from the catty persona he inhabited on screen. Despite his immense popularity, his career faced the hurdle of being perpetually typecast as the bumbling sidekick or the nervous fat guy, particularly in his frequent collaborations with Burt Reynolds. He also faced professional instability, on the small screen, experiencing the frustration of having several self-titled sitcoms and variety shows canceled after short runs, struggling to find a long-term vehicle that centered on him as the lead. Dom DeLuise remained a beloved fixture in entertainment, transitioning successfully into voice acting, where he brought heart to animated classics like The Secret of NIMH and An American Tale. He also found a second career as a celebrated author of cookbooks, sharing his passion for food and family with the world. In his later years, he battled significant health issues related to diabetes and high blood pressure. Dom DeLuise passed away at a hospital in Santa Monica, California, on May 4, 2009, at the age of 75 from kidney failure and complications stemming from cancer. He is survived by his three sons, Peter, Michael, and David, who have all continued his legacy within the entertainment industry. David Huddleston as Olson Johnson. Born on September 17, 1930, in Vinton, Virginia, the imposing character actor brought a distinct presence to Mel Brooks' satirical Western masterpiece. At the age of 43, Huddleston's portrayal of Olson Johnson served as a memorable anchor for the town's chaotic energy, famously delivering the iconic line about authentic frontier gibberish with perfect comedic timing. The film became a massive cultural phenomenon, and his role contributed to the unique fabric of a comedy that broke boundaries and remains historically significant in American cinema, cementing his face in the pantheon of classic comedy ensembles. While he frequently played blustery, pompous, or corrupt authority figures on screen, David Huddleston was a dedicated and classically trained professional who honed his craft at the prestigious American Academy of Dramatic Arts. This background stood in contrast to the often buffoonish characters he inhabited. He was a serious artist, navigating an industry that frequently relied on his physical stature rather than his dramatic range. His career was defined by the persistent struggle of typecasting, where he was repeatedly slotted into roles as mayors, sheriffs, and heavy-handed businessmen, requiring him to constantly prove his versatility in a competitive landscape where he was a recognizable face, but rarely given top billing. David Huddleston continued a prolific career across film and television for decades, famously portraying the title character in the cult classic The Big Lebowski and the lovable title role in Santa Claus the Movie. Despite his varied credits and a career spanning over half a century, he eventually slowed his professional pace due to declining health in his later years. Huddleston passed away in Santa Fe, New Mexico on August 2, 2016, at the age of 85, from advanced heart and kidney disease. His death marked the loss of one of Hollywood's most reliable character actors, and he was remembered by fans and colleagues alike for his ability to bring humanity and humor to even the most bombastic roles. John Hillerman as Howard Johnson. Born on December 20, 1932 in Denison, Texas, the actor brought a distinct deadpan sensibility to the chaotic world of Mel Brooks' Western satire. Hillerman took on the role of Howard Johnson, a character whose name served as a running gag referencing the famous hotel and restaurant chain, perfectly delivering the town council members' absurdity with the memorable declaration of having only one flavor. His performance as the somewhat pompous and baffled dignitary contributed to the film's enduring legacy as a comedy masterpiece, proving his ability to stand out and deliver precise comedic timing amidst a legendary ensemble cast. Despite his reputation for playing sophisticated, often snooty characters on screen, John Hillerman was a relaxed, down-to-earth Texan whose real personality contrasted sharply with the uptight figures he portrayed. This disconnect fueled a professional struggle. He worked tirelessly to suppress his natural Texan drawl, to master the mid-Atlantic and British accents that made him famous, eventually becoming so convincing that he faced severe typecasting. Following his later success as Higgins in Magnum P1, Hillerman found it difficult to secure diverse roles as the industry and audiences could not separate him from the persona of the fastidious majordomo, contributing to his decision to retire from acting earlier than many of his peers. John Hillerman eventually left Hollywood entirely in 1999, choosing to return to his roots in the Lone Star State to live a quiet, private life, far removed from the entertainment industry. He spent his final decades in comfortable retirement, rarely making public appearances or giving interviews. Hillerman passed away at his home in Houston, Texas, on November 9, 2017, at the age of 84, with the cause of death cited as cardiovascular disease. He was remembered by fans and former co-stars alike as a gentleman of immense talent who, despite his convincing on-screen affectations, remained a true Texan at heart. Count Basie as Count Basie. Born on August 21, 1904, the Red Bank, New Jersey native was already a towering figure in jazz history before his memorable cameo in Mel Brooks's satirical masterpiece. At the age of 69, Basie's appearance, conducting his full orchestra performing April in Paris in the middle of a barren desert, became one of the most surreal and celebrated visual gags in cinema history. This unexpected cameo introduced his cool, minimalist musical style to a younger generation of comedy fans, cementing his status as an icon who maintained his dignity and rhythm regardless of the absurd surroundings. While his on-screen demeanor was effortlessly suave and relaxed, the reality of maintaining a large jazz ensemble in the 1970s was a grueling endeavor. Unlike the magical logic of the film, where the band appears instantly, the actual professional landscape involved the intense logistical and financial struggles of keeping a big band on the road during an era heavily dominated by rock and funk. Basie faced the constant challenge of keeping his genre relevant and his musicians paid, as public tastes shifted, a testament to his resilience in an industry that had largely moved on from the swing era he helped define. Count Basie continued to tour and record relentlessly, even as his health began to decline in his final years. He remained dedicated to his craft, often performing from a motorized wheelchair as his mobility decreased, refusing to step away from the piano bench. He passed away at his home in Hollywood, Florida, on April 26, 1984, at the age of 79, from pancreatic cancer. His death was felt deeply across the music world, though his name survived through the Count Basie Orchestra, which continued to tour for decades after his passing, fulfilling his wish that the music must go on. Robyn Hilton as Miss Stein. Born on July 13, 1944, in Twin Falls, Idaho, the aspiring actress began her career as a weather reporter and teacher before moving to Hollywood. At the age of 29, Hilton's portrayal of Miss Stein, the governor's breathless and statuesque secretary in Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles, became an instant comedic classic. Her performance as the stereotypical blonde bombshell served as a perfect satirical foil in the film, earning her a cult following and cementing her image in 1970s pop culture as a striking screen presence. Despite the dizzy and seductive persona she adopted for the role, Robyn Hilton's real-life background was grounded in a conservative Mormon upbringing and a university education. This sharp contrast between her intelligent farm-raised roots and the bimbo roles she was offered defined her professional struggle. She found herself heavily typecast, with the industry focusing almost exclusively on her physical appearance rather than her acting range. Frustrated by the lack of substantial roles, she eventually grew disenchanted with the Hollywood machine. Robyn Hilton largely withdrew from the entertainment industry in the mid-1980s to focus on a private life away from the public eye. Over the years, she became the subject of various death rumors, all of which were proven false as she had simply chosen a quiet retirement in California. She married and divorced Alan Mihotzes in her later years and remained dedicated to her family. As of 2026, at the age of 81, she is living a peaceful and reclusive life in Sonoma County, California, having successfully maintained her privacy for decades after leaving the spotlight. Burton Gilliam as Lyle. Born on August 9, 1938, the Dallas, Texas native was working as a firefighter before he was discovered and cast in Paper Moon, which led directly to his casting by Mel Brooks. At the age of 35, Gilliam's portrayal of Lyle, the dim-witted and grinning henchman, became a comedic highlight of Blazing Saddles. He was central to some of the film's most enduring moments, including the infamous bean-eating campfire scene and the musical number Camptown Races. His performance provided the perfect satirical foil in the film, helping to deconstruct Western tropes and racism through absurdist humor, solidifying his face as one of the most recognizable in 1970s comedy. Despite playing a character defined by gleeful ignorance and racism, Burton Gilliam is known in reality as a warm, gentlemanly figure and a former Golden Gloves boxer who saved lives as a fireman. This stark contrast between his screen persona and his real life was a testament to his acting ability, yet it came with professional hurdles. Gilliam faced significant typecasting throughout his career. His distinctive broad Texan accent and natural cowboy look often pigeonholed him into specific regional roles. While he worked steadily, he frequently struggled to break out of the good old boy or comedic Western caricature, which limited his opportunities to explore more dramatic or diverse characters outside of that specific niche. Burton Gilliam continued to maintain a visible presence in pop culture, landing memorable roles in Back to the Future Part 3 and Honeymoon in Vegas, and achieving a unique fame as the prominent face of Pace Picante sauce commercials for over a decade with the catchphrase, "Get a rope." Unlike many in Hollywood, he has enjoyed a stable personal life, remaining married to his wife Susan since 1964, and is a proud father and grandfather. He has remained active on the nostalgia circuit, frequently attending conventions to meet fans of his classic films. As of 2026, at the age of 88, he is living in retirement in Allen, Texas, celebrated as a living legend of American comedy and Western cinema. Liam Dunn as Reverend Johnson. Born on November 12, 1916 in New Jersey, the distinctively frazzled character actor was a late bloomer in Hollywood who found his stride in the 1970s. At the age of 57, Dunn's portrayal of the befuddled and high-strung Reverend Johnson became a comedic highlight of Mel Brooks's satirical masterpiece. His delivery of the frontier gibberish speech to the town of Rock Ridge perfectly encapsulated the film's mockery of small-town piety and prejudice, turning a supporting role into a memorable piece of cinema history that remains quoted by fans decades later. Despite his on-screen persona of the perpetually exasperated or terrified victim, Liam Dunn's real-life struggle was a serious battle with his own health. While his characters often faced slapstick abuse and chaotic situations, Dunn was fighting severe emphysema off-camera, a condition that made the physical exertion of acting increasingly difficult. This health battle presented a significant professional hardship, as his breathing difficulties were sometimes audible in his performances, and he was forced to work against the clock of a failing body, just as he was finally achieving the typecasting and recognition he had sought for years. Liam Dunn continued to be a favorite of Mel Brooks, memorably playing the unfortunate Mr. Hilltop in Young Frankenstein, shortly after his success in the West. However, his career was cut tragically short by his illness. While filming the Disney comedy The Shaggy DA, he collapsed on set due to respiratory distress. Liam Dunn passed away in Granada Hills, California on April 11, 1976, at the age of 59 from heart failure caused by his chronic emphysema. His death deprived the comedy world of a unique talent who died just 2 years after his breakout role, leaving behind a legacy of scene-stealing performances. Charles McGregor as Charlie, 1922 in New York City. Charles McGregor lived a life of extreme hardship before finding his way to the screen. At the age of 51, he took on the role of Charlie in Mel Brooks's satirical masterpiece, Blazing Saddles. As one of the railroad workers who famously confuses the white overseers with a jazz hands rendition of I Get a Kick Out of You, McGregor's deadpan delivery provided one of the film's most quoted and subversive laughs. His performance contributed to a comedic blockbuster that shattered racial taboos and remains a defining moment in American cinema history. The comedic lightness of his character in Blazing Saddles stood in stark contrast to the gritty reality of McGregor's personal history. Before becoming an actor, he had spent nearly 25 years in the prison system for various offenses, struggling with a heroin addiction that consumed his early life. His entry into acting only came after he joined the Fortune Society, an organization dedicated to helping ex-convicts. Despite his natural charisma, McGregor faced the professional struggle of being typecast. His rugged appearance and background frequently limited him to roles playing tough guys inmates or drug dealers in blaxploitation films like Superfly and Across 110th Street, making it difficult for him to showcase a wider dramatic range. Charles McGregor continued to act throughout the 1970s, often appearing in films alongside heavyweights of the era like Jim Brown and Fred Williamson in Three the Hard Way. However, as the blaxploitation genre faded in the late 70s and early 80s, his on-screen roles diminished. He dedicated much of his later life to touring schools and counseling youths, using his own harrowing past as a cautionary tale to steer them away from crime and drugs. McGregor passed away in the Bronx, New York, on August 11, 1996, at the age of 73 due to a heart attack. His body was cremated, and while he did not achieve sustained mainstream stardom, he left behind a legacy of redemption and one of the funniest scenes in comedy history. Seeing where the cast of Blazing Saddles is today reminds us of the fleeting nature of Hollywood's golden age. From Cleavon Little's charm to Gene Wilder's wit, their legacy is etched into the very fabric of film history. It's a bittersweet journey, but one worth celebrating. If this trip down memory lane touched your heart, please give this video a like and hit that notification bell to join our community of classic film lovers.